Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to work in Honey Bear's dress. She is going to get some buttons as our next prompt the girls have released is all about buttons. So I've got a couple ideas. The first one is to do some buttons that belong to plants, you know, as part of a bit of a garden scene. I love that look. I've done it many times and I just still enjoy the creativity of that. The other thing, probably about 2 months ago, this random video popped up on TikTok where someone was embroidering onto the button. Now, for the life of me, I cannot find that video, but I went to YouTube and typed in embroidery onto buttons, and I just finished watching this video here. I'll put a link below to show you guys. So what I'm thinking of doing is, you know, watching this and having a play with actually doing some little embroideries on top of buttons, cast on stitch, lazy daisy, French knots. I thought it was quite interesting. I'm sure there'd be more out there, but I think I'm going to embellish some buttons. Now, whether that embellishment will be part of the garden around Mrs. Bunny here, or there'll be random buttons throughout my piece that have, you know, the embroidery in them. So that's where I think I'm going with my next few videos for Honey Bear's dress. Now, I need to catch up on so many lovely comments and suggestions and things like that. So first of all, a few of you noticed in my snippets here some blue lace that you thought might suit Honey Bear's dress. They're the only two pieces that I could see that maybe you guys saw. There was 2 of you, I think, spotted it. And we were doing the bunny and you thought that these would look good on the bunny somewhere. Now, this one could have been it, but it's too big for her. Might fit on Mum. And then this, I've looked at this piece a few times. It's just a scrap of lace with this random bow on it. I sort of felt like the blue was wrong. It's a little bit too bright, but I don't mind that bow. That bow is a very soft blue. So, but nothing for Bunny there. Let's have a look at big girl Bunny here. She's very neutral. So I don't think I want to incorporate any blue on her. So I'm thinking that's what you guys saw. There's another snippet of blue. I'm just looking sideways. It's that grey blue. Yeah, like it sort of works too, but I'm going to leave the bunnies be for now. It's sort of not quite. Like that works. They all sort of do anyway. Like I'm drifting between a few blues. What's that? Is that another blue? No, that's green. So that's the lace snippets. Then what was the next comment? Oh, lots of you said Honey Bear would be a bear that would collect buttons. Oh, yes. So when this prompt came to be, I went scrounging for every blue and cream button I could find. I'm still on the hunt for a pearly or a shank something button here, and a lot of you love the idea that we give her 3 different buttons as she's a collector of random buttons. When I popped my button trays down in front of me and they're just off camera here, I can see a shank button in there that I think might work as well. I had many requests to send me buttons. I thank you all, but you don't need to. Oh, I have so many buttons. So if you did have buttons that you wanted to debutton yourself from, I'm sure you could find someone who's starting out in slow stitch or just learning to stitch, especially young people. Put together a collection of buttons for a little girl somewhere and let them play with buttons. But I'm okay. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, all the requests to send me goodies, but it's okay. Boy, if I said yes to you all, I'd have a serious storage problem, and it's bad enough now. I've got back from a few days up at Burrum attempting to move into my house, our new place. But, oh boy, I'll fill you in that in a minute. And I've walked into my craft room and I just feel like I need a tidy up. I've got so many bits and pieces everywhere that I think I'm going to spend today, after I finish this video, just tidying up. I just feel like I need to clear the deck, you know, when you get like that at times. So that's my plan for today. Sew some buttons on Heidi Bear's dress and, yeah, catch up a little bit. Now, the other thing, did I show you this? I'm not sure. I found this little piece of crocheted element and I've pinned it there. I think I did. And I'm thinking that might be a nice little addition to her blouse. Now, the tatting, I'm definitely going to stitch that down. I haven't yet. I'll get that done this weekend. And then, remember we had the discussion of what would we do at the back here? And some of you suggested, which I think is a genius idea, brilliant, we attach a piece of ribbon here, and that becomes a tie on the back of her little dress. I really like that. So I'm hoping once I do a tidy up, I can find a blue, I'm sort of picturing a blue velvet ribbon. I'm pretty sure I've got some. Whether it's the right blue, that'll be the question, but that's what I'm on the hunt for. That's my treasure item I'm looking for. So stay tuned. I'm sure there'll be something somewhere. Now, the other thing I remember I didn't like the beads, so I've cut those out. So another little job this weekend is I need to stitch the body on those two butterflies like that one. You all pretty much agreed that the beads just didn't suit the design of the butterfly, so I was pleased that you all said, yeah, totally agree, take the beads off. That's great. I think that's about the catch-up of it all concerning Honey Bear's dress. Oh, I just spotted that. It's not exactly velvet, but anyway, stay focused, girl. So buttons, what I'm thinking is I just want to have a play with placing potentially a button garden around Bunny here. So I have grabbed out these buttons. So I'm looking for blues. Now these embroidered button idea I have, you need 4 holes in your buttons if you're going to do it. That way you can get, you know, the leaves. Where's the pen and paper? I need to draw it so you understand it, so you know what the hang the girl is talking about. So we've got our button and we've got our 4 holes. So for example, you put the button so that the one hole is at the bottom, and that allows you to do a leaf, a stem, and a French knot. That's the most simple one I've seen. But then I have seen one that caught my eye with cast on stitch. So cast on stitch is where you've got this stitch and you get these little cast on stitches over that main piece, and it's all knotted together and creates like a bit of a frill, and you can curve it, you can have it straight. We were doing them in the Jennifer Clouston series of stitcheries. She uses them a lot for leaves, and I just love them once I learned how to do them. And this lady in the video, she does a cast on stitch that curls around nearly like a grub rose in the center of the button, and I thought, oh yeah, that's something I wouldn't mind having a play with. So I'm thinking of using cast on stitch inside the button, must have 4 holes, to embellish a bit of a gardeny sort of flower-like combination. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm just at the moment on the hunt for some buttons that might be suitable. And if I happen to see a shank button suitable for the back of her dress, well, that would be a bonus, because I need one more. I'm thinking for my garden I need all sorts of sizes, so there's some tiny blue ones. I've actually got more blue than I thought I did. So I'm just going to gather some out that could be interesting. I'm going to try and find some different colour tones so that I can get that more rustic feel in amongst it. What did I just say? That sentence didn't even make sense. Creamy tones, beigey tones that have, you know, like that one's got a wash of colour through it. So, yeah, I'm just going to grab out buttons. If I want then, and I have spare buttons, I could actually, gee, that's massive. I think Honey Bear would like that one, but I can actually then go and pop some somewhere else. So I really plan on playing with buttons. Love the colours we've got here. I'm so pleased I went the blue and not the purple when we were planning our mood boards, and I did the blue, the red and the purple. So pleased I did the blue. The purple would have been quite a challenge. I just don't have a lot of purple. So far they're all different. Even a different shape like that'd be, look at that one. I don't even know where these come from. This is years of a little girl picking up buttons. I buy the odd pack, but I don't know. I just seem to come across buttons. Like we all do. There are a few in here from Grandma, but I've long lost. Oh, look at that. Okay. Heaps. Heaps. I've probably got way too many already, but I am so enjoying picking out buttons. Is that therapeutic? I think I just need to pick buttons up, guys. Oh, I tell you. All right, let's start at the top of the list of what happened this week. Well, I just pull buttons out. I'll put those ones away because they just feel like they've got no story behind them. I like these random one button only jobs. That's mass production. Corinne just bought a heap for some reason. So I'm not sure what day you're watching this. It'd be probably Saturday. So I'm feeling, what day is it today? Oh my goodness. Today's Thursday, so we had the reveal of the buttons last night, so it's Saturday. I do believe I have a video pre-programmed in for Saturday, but I'm going to bump it forward, and this one will be this Saturday because Stitch the Seasons is my Friday. So we have the weekend at home. We pretty much had planned with the builder that we would take possession of our house on yesterday. So we packed up the van, our work van we're using to take loads up to the house from this place. And I pretty much, because we had a house up there a few years ago, everything is packed for the property to basically live there in a holiday mode. It's not moving our existing home in Brisbane up there. It's just everything we used to have in that property when we'd all meet as family to go fishing and hang out and Christmas and Easter. It was a family sort of environment. So when we sold that property and bought the block of land across the way to build again 2 years ago, I put everything from, we'll call it Ed's place, that's where the house was, Ed's place, into boxes, the bit of furniture I had in the house all into our shed, and it's just been sitting there patiently waiting for the new house, of which now we can, every time we go up there, which seems to be a lot lately, to inspect the house or catch up with the builder, we can take a load up. Now, they've kindly given us permission to put the first load in the house, even though we technically don't own the house. All the paperwork's been sent to us. They've sent us the final bill, and we've just got to do the last final payment, and it's ours. But we don't want to do that yet because the list of things to fix is still I don't know, we've gone from 52 items down to 22 items. And the reason is because we're 4 hours away. It's just too hard to slip up there because a painter suddenly calls and said, I'll be there in 20 minutes to paint the last little bit of skirting board. Well, we can't. So we said to the builder, let's just leave it under the lock and key of the builder's key. And we're happy just to wait. If it means another week, another month, doesn't matter. We just happy to wait and just let it trundle along, and we'll just pop up every so often, check out what's going on, and, you know, let them take their sweet, Nelly swore time. Look at that bit. Look at that. Got to get one of them in. Tiny little heart bead. So that's pretty much what's been happening. We set a date last Friday, last Tuesday, the Wednesday prior, as potential handover. And that's really just the supervisor putting a bit of pressure on all the tradesmen to say, hey, this house is going to be handed over. You better pull your finger out, which hasn't happened. So many of the trades are coming up from the Sunshine Coast, which is 2.5 hours away. So many of the businesses that they use, the door company, the window company, the mirror company, the kitchen company, all come from the Sunshine Coast, 2.5 hours away, nearly 3 hours away. And those businesses only visit that region once a week, on a Monday or a Tuesday, or every fortnight. So when we have things like touch-up paint needed for kitchen cabinets, they're every 2 weeks. The air conditioning unit doesn't switch on, so there's an electrical fault somewhere. They come every 2 weeks. So you can see we've really had to wait time-wise to try and get all the ducks in a row, so to speak. So the longer they have the house to deal with all that, the better, because we just don't have time. But we're getting very, very close to the pointy. Oh, there's a crystal shank button. Oh, honey bear. But we're getting very, very close to paying the final money, handing it over. Oh, honey bear. Righto, distracted. And getting the key. But we're just, I guess we're dragging our heels a little bit, because look at that. Oh, I think we need a crystal button on. Oh, perfect. I'm going to stitch that on because I can talk and not think too hard and stitch a button on. So, yeah, we've pretty much at that point. Luckily, the builder, he's so thankful we don't scream and yell. Oh, gosh, we've heard some stories up there. People get frustrated, as you can imagine, and we are too, but we're not people that scream and yell at other people. It's probably because we've worked in retail most of our life. We can appreciate the fact that sometimes a little bit of sugar is better than a heap of sticks or rocks or a grenade. So we are very relaxed. We may appear relaxed, but internally and privately, we're like, oh my goodness, how frustrating. But we're not going to beat. Oh, now I'm going to flick all those beads. I need a pretty little tray to sit my beads on. Do I have a pretty little tray? No. Nope. All right, Ducky. Ducky's just here. I'm going to put him at Ducky's feet. He can look after all those. So, yeah. Privately, we're screaming and yelling. Well, not really. But there's no use beating the supervisor up. He's dealing with all sorts of characters, let me just say. We met a few over the last few days. And he's only a young fella. He's young dad. And imagine him going home stressed because we've just screamed at him like some people do. We've heard some nasty stories. And the last thing I want to do is make him feel as frustrated as he already is anymore. He's a lovely young fella, supervisor, and he works for a very big company. And they just seem to be all very young people. We noticed it when we were doing the design of the house and picking the you know, the taps and all that. We just seem to be dealing with a lot of young people who are straight out of college or uni learning their craft. And there were lots of errors, but we were just like, oh gosh, we just need to check everything. You know, just different things that happened, and we're like, wow, you kids have got a lot to learn. And they're, you know, working for a very big company. What is going on with this button? It is flip-flopping around. Oh, start again. Something's gone pear-shaped. So we just pick another date and hope to hang that date comes together. But when we get there, we find that there's still this not done, that not done. Like there's 5 bricks underneath the sliding door to outside that they dip down a little bit. So there's a gap, and we spotted it back in December last year and said the brickie needs to come back, pull out those bricks and have another go at it because it looks terrible. So nothing got done. And then the caulker, so the fellow that comes through and puts all of the no more gaps in and the silicone between tiles and walls, he caulks the house. He was there quite a few days. Well, he's gone around the outside of the house, and where different surfaces meet other surfaces, like a timber area meets a brick area, there's a gap. Well, they put a silicone in there to seal it up, or a render, or whatever's needed. And that's the type of job that this chap does. Well, he's come to that area where these little bricks drop down a little bit. I think what's happened is the slab has dropped. I need pen and paper. You know what I'm like, guys. I'm very visual. The slab must drop down just a few mil there. Okay, so we've got the slab of the house. Then sitting on that is the slider door. Okay, and it sort of opens up. And this little brick ledge, there's a name for it, sits underneath it all the way along, these little bricks, and then continue up the side, either side of the door. Well, what's happened is the rail for the door is here, and the bricks are coming along nice and neat, like they literally look like they sit perfectly. But then there's these 5 bricks that drop down, and we think the slab is sloped down ever so slightly, like we're talking 3 mil. So this little gap, as you walk towards this door, it's right here. So it's the first thing you see. The caulker, who fills gaps, he's come along and he's put silicone in that gap. And silicone is a clear, milky white colour. The bricks are a creamy beige colour. The door frame is white. So it's made it even more obvious that there's a gap. So the only way to fix it is to pop those few bricks out, which is a really easy job. I watched him do it yesterday, and then put some new bricks in, just 5 little bricks, and put a little bit of mud or mortar underneath them to raise them those few mil. Really simple. Anyway, to get that man and his lads back, the bricklayer, has just taken forever because they are flat out. The housing in Australia has just, everyone's moving out of the big areas into smaller regional areas. So it's just put so much pressure. And we were like, where's the brickie? Where's the brickie? You know, and I was watching them yesterday because we went up. They graciously have allowed us to put a load of basic furniture, you know, kitchen table and a few chairs, a couple boxes, not much, into the house, even though we don't technically own it. But there's nothing there worth, you know, money that if it got stolen, and it won't get stolen. Anyway, that day was handover, but it got cancelled because it just hadn't been all done. Not enough to the point where we feel comfortable releasing them from, you know, being in their attention. So the supervisor, he said, oh, the bricky's coming today. And we're like, oh, yeah, we've heard that every second day. Well, guess who turned up? The bricky and his crew. And we're like being, I don't know, quietly to ourselves going, bloomin' brickies. Wish they'd just come and fix it. Let's get it off the list, you know. It's held everything up. And when they arrived, oh, I've never seen such a more worn out, exhausted group of men. You know, the head guy, he's got very pale skin, red hair. He just looks weathered. He looks like he's worked hard since he was an apprentice. Like you just can't yell and scream at people when they're just trying to keep up with the workload. So anyway, the bricks got removed and then they all left and they didn't come back. So now I have a hole where the 5 bricks were. So I'm guessing they'll be popping back to put them in. They also went around the house with the mortar and repointed some of the little spots that had little cracks, you know, just to do their final touch-up. So the bricks aren't finished. It's just hilarious. It seriously is. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an efficient human, but I just have to wonder sometimes if you just finish one job, you can move on to the next project. It certainly applies with what we do here. If we finish Honey Bear's dress, we can go and do something else. Look at the little crystal bead. You can't even see it, but look, that is gorgeous. I love it. Love, love, love. 3 completely different little beads. So, yeah. Anyway, what's the point to my story? While we were there all day, we also had installed the first part of our order for the window coverings. So I've got these curtains to go on the sliding doors and then Roman blinds to go on the bedrooms. There's some shutters coming, but they're in a couple of weeks' time. They take longer to produce. So they called and said, can we come out on the Wednesday? And I said, well, so happens we are trying to get the key on the Wednesday. Yeah, come on out. The builder said, yeah, go for it. We don't want to start holding up, you know, trades. You might as well just do it. So that was the reason we were really there. We knew darn well there'd be no handover such of the property. So we were there all day watching our blinds and curtains being installed, watching the bricklayers fiddle around with those 5 bricks. No one else turned up, not one other trade. We went over the list of things to fix and yes, most of it's still on the list. So we then unpacked the van, had some rallies turn up. So we had a bit of morning tea with them as we sat at our kitchen table in the middle of the lounge room because we don't really want to put it where it's going yet because there's a tile that needs to be fixed underneath it. So, yeah, we pretty much just hung out. But what I did do, which I'm absolutely stoked with, is I had taken a bucket of cleaning products. So I took the time and cleaned all of the cupboards. I wiped all the drawers out, all the cupboards in my new craft room. I wiped all the shelves out, the drawers in there, so I can now, when we eventually get the key, just empty boxes straight into, you know, cupboards and things, because I have I'm getting excited about my buttons here now. I've pre-cleaned everything. The big sliding doors, the sort of segment areas off, I wiped all them down. They were just full of sand and grime as they sat for a month out in the paddock before they got put into the house. So I've been looking at this dust forever. So I felt really good. So we drove back yesterday afternoon back to Brisbane. So, as I said, today's Thursday. So we've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday free time. Well, mow the lawn, clean the house, do some washing. Sunday we'll reload the van. Monday we drive back. And Tuesday, hopefully, we have handover. There are a lot of trades booked in the next few days, so it's very possible that it will happen because it's that week cycle or the 2-week cycle I spoke about. So those businesses are, in the area. So that's the plan. That's the plan. So I've got a couple days off. I'm going to stitch. I'm going to relax. I did try to convince my husband that we drive back, sleep the night, load the van, drive back up, sneakily drop some more gear in the house, spend the night with some friends, drive back, have a day of rest, but in that day of rest, reload the van and then drive back. See, in my little pea-brain head, I could get another load up, but my husband just looked at me. Oh, we're sitting at our friend's house and they were getting ready to serve us dinner, and Sue, that's who has the puppies. I'll just start saying Sue so you know who I mean. We're sitting at Dave and Sue's, and I said, babe, can we fill up the van, load, drive, and he looked at me and said, no. And I looked at him in silence, and Sue's sitting on the couch to one side. She goes, ooh. And I had to decide whether you go the sales pitch and try and convince your partner to do something they clearly do not want to do, or just let it go. Let it go. And I was exhausted. And Sue's like, so what's the next sentence? And I said, we're going to not do it. We're going to pretty much have a weekend of rest. And I thought, oh, beauty, I can get some videos made. So that's where it was left. We are just hanging loose for the weekend. And, gee, I'm liking that. So I've got a couple ideas in my head. We could do the plants, let's call these flowers or plants, where the stem, see my blue thread, is just vertical straight to the ground. Or, which I think is a bit more artistic, we have it so it comes from a point here, like so. Oh, where's that bow? So it doesn't have to look like a garden. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Oh, I've just had a flash. I'm going to take that bow off of there. So that's the plan. I've got a weekend of stitching. I'll make a few videos. I've just started another project, like, crazy girl. And I've filmed episode 1. I need to do a little bit of homework on it. Then I could do episode 2 and get that up, and that'll be something you guys can watch in November. I'm going to do a bunch of beads coming out like a posy. I'm not going to do the obvious where I do a garden. I'm going to use this thread and couch it down, and then maybe some little petals, some little... The question is, do I do the thread first, add the beads, or do I add the beads? Not beads, buttons. So I spent all this time making it look gorgeous. Maybe I'll take a photo of their placement, and then, so I'll get my camera, take a photo of that, And yeah, I think that's what I'll do. And then we might put those beads, if I can find a little container under my, they are, do we want to mess that up? Maybe I can put a dot too. Yeah, that's what I'll do. We'll put a dot. That's a heart bead. That's a heart bead. That's the hexagon bead. That's what I'll do. I'll draw myself a little, that's a four post bead, a 4-hole bead. So that's the latest on the house saga. I have snuck a load in. I've cleaned all my cupboards and shelves. They're all wiped down, ready to go. I've started doing some general housework. Oh, I went and bought myself a new toy as well. Chatting to Sue and Dave, that's where we've sort of been bunking down every time we go up there. And because she takes in foster puppies, she needs to make sure that all her surfaces are hygienically clean. And the best thing she's found is a steam mop. So I had to play with her steam mop and fell in love with it. And then did a bit of research, and I've chosen a steam mop. I've purchased a steam mop, and here in Brisbane I've had a practice run with it, and oh boy, do I like it. Very, very excited about my new steam mop. Where have you been in my life? You're probably all sitting there if you own a steam mop and go, good on you, girl. You've finally caught up. But Sue loves it because she's got puppies. If a puppy has a little accident, she can then sanitize the area really quickly and efficiently. So I thought, I need a steam mop in my life. So that was something I did during the week, and I'm itching to get that steam mop up there because on the tiles there's like plaster and gum and, you know, all sorts of random bits and pieces. So there you go. I was very excited about my steam mop. You're probably thinking, oh my goodness, girl. Yeah, I know. Now, we need a needle. I'm going to use this wool, I think, because I really like the colour. And I'm going to start stitching. I guess the other thing I need to do is work out my point of which they're all coming to, so that it looks correct. That's where we're aiming. So any lines we do have to be heading back to that point. And then that will sit in there. That will go to there. Get the general gist, Corinne? Yes, I understand. I think that will work. Yep. And then we'll do something down the bottom here so it looks like it's a posy of flowers there. Flower button flowers. So that's the plan. All right, so the stitch, we could couch it down. We could do stem stitch. I might try a bit of stem stitch. Or split back stitch is another thing we could do. Oh, that's crooked. Goodness me. Well, at least the benefit of this is I get now 3 days to do some videos for you guys, because now that the handover has been pushed back another week, I'm sort of chewing into the pre-recorded videos a little bit. Not really, but you know, I can just stay ahead of you you guys won't notice much of a bump. You aren't getting Sunday videos, so I hope that's not too much of an issue, but I'm sure you understand. I don't think you worry too much. Life goes on, doesn't it? And Monday, let's talk puppies. Oh, my goodness. Because I'm not seeing them every day now, gosh, do I notice a difference when I do see them. So we spent a night with the puppies because they're up at Hervey Bay now. So they're doing really, really well. Pepper has pretty much had enough of them. They have teeth, white pearly teeth, and she'll walk in over the top of them. She won't sit. She's like, nah, I'm not sitting down amongst you lot. You've got teeth. She'll walk in and investigate them, sniff them. They immediately try to suckle, and I think one or two will get attached. Someone does a chomp, that's it, she's out. So she's pretty much washed her hands of them, doesn't want anything to do with them. So yeah, we'll be bringing Pepper home within the week, I think, because she's just having a good time up there with the other dogs. She's not even doing anything anymore. Sue has 2 dogs. You'll see them in the video on Monday. Patch, he's also an Australian Shepherd. He is not quite a year old. He'd be very close to being a year old. And Boof, he's an old boy. They did have a third, but unfortunately we lost Chevy a couple months ago, around the time I lost Casper. I think Chevy went the week before, Casper went the week later. So we sort of all lost a dear pet at the same time, Sue and I. So, yeah, Buffy, he tolerates them. They're silly little puppies. He'd rather just lay on his bed and observe from a distance. And every so often they'll all bound over to him and he just lets a little growl out and they just turn and go in the opposite direction and he goes back to sleep. You'll see what I mean when you see old Buffy. And Patchy, he's like, oh my goodness, they all look like me. Can we play? And of course, they're a little bit little for Patchy's play yet, but there'll come a day soon where it's just going to be absolute bedlam. So they have grown so much. My goodness. Especially when you don't see them for a week. So I did a couple little videos of the puppies in their new surrounds. And she's got a pretty good setup. She's got the laundry scenario like I did. But she's also got a fantastic patio area leading onto some grass. And she creates like a mini pen that is the patio and it's nestled against her spa. And then they can walk only a metre or so and they're onto grass. So she's already got them toilet trained. Unbelievable. They go trotting out to the grass, they do their business, and then they return to the paved area under cover, and in there she's got toys and blankets and doggy beds, and they play and jump, and oh, you should see it. She's really got it worked out. And then in the late afternoon, when it starts to cool off, she takes them all back to her laundry, and she's got the same environment there. But the potty training, she's got a piece of artificial grass down one end of the laundry. And when I arrived late that afternoon, she says, oh, they're already potty trained. And I said, how's that possible? They're in your laundry. How's that? And she goes, oh, there's artificial grass. And you should see, they get up from their comfy lazing area with their beds, toys and blankies, pillows and all sorts. And they trot down to the other end of the laundry, and on this artificial grass, they do their business. I couldn't believe it. So she goes, yep. She said it only took 48 hours for them to realise that that was the zone. She said at the end of the day, now that mum is not really cleaning up after them, they start to realise that they don't want to do poops in their own bed because that's, you know, unpleasant. So she said they've already got that instinct to be clean. So you just make an area where they can do their business, and it's sorted. Unbelievable. And then as soon as she took them outside, she had them for about 3 days inside, and then she said, right, it's time for them to spend the day outside in the patio area and experience grass. And I'd already given them 10 minutes of grass prior to them going up to Hervey Bay. So she said they're all walking really well now. They're, you know, strong. A couple of them were a bit wobbly when I left Brisbane with them, but now they're like running. Within 3 days, they were all running. So she said, I think they're ready to go onto the grass scenario. So that's how they while their days away, snoozing, pooping, eating. So they're doing really well. Gosh, I'm so thankful I've got her, because yeah, it would have been quite a challenge for me to, you know, do everything. Well, Gaz would have had to do everything himself with the house. I haven't really left home for a month while I had my babies. So it's all worked out. All worked out well in the end. It always does. So Sue will have them for 4 weeks, maybe 5. We'll just see how they go developmentally. Got to make sure they're ready for home and ready to be separated from their pets. There's certain signs that Sue looks for before she releases them into, you know, another home environment. It's all part of her training with foster puppies. Sometimes it's the 8 weeks, sometimes it's 10 weeks, sometimes it's 11 weeks. Just depends on the pup. Different milestones that they need to achieve according to her foster care support group. So it's going to be interesting to learn all that. So yeah, that's the latest on the puppies. So there'll be a video Monday, a Hervey Bay video, and you'll get to see Buffy and Patch. Pepper was nowhere to be seen. She wasn't even interested. She just, it's amazing, isn't it? You know, the mother dogs say, right, that's enough. You've drained me of all my energy. It's time for you to be puppies. And yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So that's the puppy news. That's the house news. What else is happening? Oh, not enough. Not enough. That's enough. Not much more than that. It's getting busy at work. Customers are starting to come in and buy their Christmas lights and trees and get ready for Christmas. It's still early yet, mind you. It's still, you know, October. But there's some early birds always, especially the ones that light up their houses for Christmas. They've got a lot of work. So you usually find that they're in to start the process. Okay, that's not at all. So how are we going for time? Oh my goodness, 48 minutes of yibba yabba. Goodness, there's a lot to tell you, and when they're pre-recorded videos, it's not as newsworthy because, you know, that period of time hasn't happened. So the Roxy challenge is great because it's a little bit more true to time. I've finished filming my Stitch the Season Spring. I love it, love it. I'd love to show you, but I can't. I've finished that. I don't know what episode we're up to pre-recorded, but it goes through to the 1st of December, so oh, love it. Starting to think about the summer piece. You'll be very pleased to hear that I've got my poem sorted. I ended up writing something myself. You'll be watching it and I'm still you know, toiling. Oh, I start stem stitch from the top. I don't want to work up to the button because I want it all to look the same. So I need to start at the top where the button is. Yeah, I'm toiling over it in the videos and can't find anything. And I get to the point where I just can't find anything suitable. So I end up writing a little couple sentences, and they're just what spring means to me. They don't rhyme. They're just, you know, feelings that you feel when you feel the change of season. So in the process, I wrote the summer one, and I think I wrote the winter one, but I could not do autumn. There's nothing came to me. I was exhausted after the writing of the first three, so, but that's okay. I've got time. So really happy with the project. It was a lot of fun. It was great exploring all those stitches too, like, oh, really, really good. I started filming my Nikki Franklin journal that I promised you all that I would make after my retreat back in March. I bought some Nikki Franklin embroidery kits. So I thought, well, that's a perfect project that I can have up at Burrum while I'm moving house of an evening. If I feel like doing some stitching, I can just pull out a little embroidery that I bought from Nikki Franklin at the retreat and stitch that. And I don't need to have a heap of supplies. Nikki's put all the threads with it. The fabric's pre-printed. And I can just stitch. And then that will all go into a little journal. So I filmed the first episode or two of that project. You'll see that later in the month into November. And in the meantime, I can stitch some little embroideries that'll keep me busy. So yeah, it's always something going on. I like to have a few projects going. I know a few of you say, how do you do it? You've always got so much on. I always do. I always do. You know those channels that have the floss tube channels where they review their progress on numerous embroideries, cross-stitch embroideries. When I found that group of creative people out in YouTube world, I really resonated with them because they may have 10 different cross stitches going, and they come onto YouTube and show you their progress, their thoughts, how's it processing, are they changing anything, just a general chitty chat about what they're up to. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one that is comfortable having 4 or 5 projects on the go, and I meander between them all. I really enjoy that because otherwise I get stale on one project. I like the fact that it's sitting there in the corner of the room looking at me, and I'm like, oh, I must get back to that. I must get back to it. And then when I go back to it, it's like it's fresh. I have new thoughts, new ideas. So I really like the fact that I have a couple on the go. So the whole YouTube filming lots of projects, it suits me down to the ground because I'm a bit that way with multiple projects. Mr. Bandit. I'll have my Pepper Girl back soon. It'll be great. A few people have asked what's happening with Bandit while we're coming and going. Well, my goddaughter, Chelsea, she's also my store manager at my Slacks Creek Christmas shop. Very close family to our family. Her parents, Marianne, my best mate, Kev, went to school with Gaz. So we're all, Chelsea's been with us since she was a itty bitty baby. Now she's like 28, manages our business, and she also house sits for me. So when I go to Barham or anywhere, Chelsea just moves in. Fudgy loves her. Pepper and Bandit love her. So Bandit boy, he has Chelsea all to himself. And she just moves in as we leave. She comes in that afternoon after work and takes care of everything and is someone to be in the house. Keep everyone company. So, yeah, I had a few questions. What's happening with Bandit? He's just fine. I'm sure he'll be pleased when Pepper gets back too. You know, they're pretty good chums. So that'll be on the next run because she would have been very much disconnected from the pups now. I nearly brought her back. I was like, oh, Pep, are you focused on these things? And she's looking at me going, can we go to the beach? She just wants to play with the neighbourhood kids and dogs, and, you know, Sue and Dave are in a cul-de-sac and there's a lot of young families around. So there's all these little kids that come over, and Sue in a few weeks will introduce the puppies to these children. So the puppies will go through a bit of training with children. So if the puppy goes to a household that has young children, the puppy's very much ready for it. So she's got this little posse of kids ranging from 7 through to 12, and those kids come over to Auntie Sue's and cuddle puppies. So that'll all happen in the next few weeks, which is really good. That sort of helps puppies settle into a home really well too. So Pepper was cuddling kids. She was like, oh boy, there's no kids where I come from. So they were running around and playing, and, you know, Pepper Peach was in town. I was like, Pepper, you've got puppies over here. And she's like, yeah, whatever. They have teeth. I'm not going near them. She would go over and check them out, but then leave. She was like, no. Isn't it funny? So I'm getting there. How are we going for time? Oh my goodness, there's 3 minutes left. Well, I've caught you all up. I'm not sure when Honey Bear's dress will pop back up on the schedule. Probably the following weekend, I'd say. I'll have a look at what's pre-programmed, and if I'm so inclined to keep playing, it will pop back up. But I think you got the general gist here. I will do some little embroideries into buttons. That might be the video for next weekend, I'd say. At least get these into position. Get all my stems down. I'm glad I didn't do the buttons first, because I think it would have been quite annoying trying to stitch these stems, you know. I've got a photo, so it won't be too hard to work it out. So let's just stop for a moment and have a look at what buttons don't have a stem. That was handy having the little lines, I must say. So let's get a stem down into there for that button. A stem there, another one there, another one there, one into there, there, yeah, that's a good start. And then the bow, we can just do some randoms down there, and that'll be all my stems, I think, in place. The other thing I need to have a think about is, will there be enough room for a few little leaves or even some little beads? But we'll see. I don't want to crowd it. It's like a posy of buttons. Yeah, I love it. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. We've hit the hour. I will have something to play with here, and I will be back in another video. Who knows what will be next in the schedule, and probably the following weekend I'll be back with some more of the button work. I'd say that'll be the case actually, because if I get the key, I will definitely be up at the other house, if not driving back for another load only to return. So all going to plan. We will have the keys on Tuesday. Stay tuned. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Have a fantastic week and enjoy your buttons. Bye.